Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we today? Well, at the moment here, although it might look nice and sunny and bright, it is blowing an absolute gale at the moment. Last night, oh my God, the winds were really strong. I've been walking up and down the road picking up dustbin lids that blew off our balcony, believe it or not. And because it is very, very windy, I've decided that I'm going to do the broadcast today from another location, okay, which is not going to be as noisy. And I'm hoping and also as well, I've got to say, it is bitterly cold as well today as well. So I'm going to go inside the house. I've got a little temporary standby set up in the bedroom. All right, I'm going to shut the door as well. And so I'm doing the broadcast actually from inside the bedroom this morning. I don't know how well I look on the screen. Oh well, I've had to do it at an angle simply because I want to not be just a shapely shadow or somebody who's opting for anonymity while I do this broadcast. Anyway, nice to see a few people have joined us. Thomas Ganzer from Austria, nice to see you. Graham from Australia is also tuning in, as well as the good old steady Mr. Steve Hinkling from Stoke-on-Trent. Right, I've got to be honest, it's been absolute craziness at the moment within the last last day, and I will start going into that in more detail. But first of all, let's just get the COVID stats out of the way, because that is the direction that we're heading in. Anyway, today's date, as you know, 27th of January, it's a Wednesday. Where is the week going? It is now day 84 of the lockdown here in Greece. Now, COVID in the last 24 hours, I've got to be honest, there has been a spike in infections. Not the biggest spike that has been seen earlier in the lockdown and certainly from last year. But anyway, we've had 842 new infections were recorded yesterday. That's up from 436 the day before. So that brings the grand total of infections since the pandemic started to 153,226, of which 52% of those are male. Anyway, there were 13 new infections identified and entries into the country, which is actually down from yesterday. We had 20 there. As for new deaths, 21 new deaths, which is also down from the day yesterday, which was 25. So making the total amount of deaths since the pandemic started 5,692, and the average age of most of those people has been 79 years of age, and also 95.4% of those people were suffering with underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. Anyway, general fatalities, or the gender of fatalities, 3,315 males have passed away since the beginning of the pandemic, and 2,307 females. Now, interestingly, critical cases in hospitals, they've also gone down as well. The other day I reported we had 286 people in critical conditions in ICUs across Greece. At the moment, it is 283. Of which 200 are male and 83 are female. And again, the average age of critical patients is 68 years of age who have underlying health issues, and there are also people over the age of 70 there as well. Anyway, the Greek authorities have conducted at the moment just short of 4 million tests in the country, but I don't have today's top score, but from a couple of days ago, just short of 4 million tests had been done on people in Greece. Now, Zakynthos at the moment, it's been very difficult to keep up with what's been going on here. We've actually had what I would call a little bit of a spike at the moment. We've had 8 more positive cases in 24 hours. That was announced last night by the Zakynthos General Hospital. They are the wife of the 88-year-old who came in positive on Tuesday morning, and then the 87-year-old grandmother of 2 young people who were 18 years of age and also 10 years of age. So again, that's of interest because they are young, who tested earlier in the same day. There's also been a 76-year-old and a 46-year-old, but it's not known if they've had any contact from anybody else. and they are being called, well, the Greeks are calling them orphaned cases, but basically what that means, isolated cases. So they're very difficult to track how these people probably became infected. Now, yesterday evening at around about 6:30, the hospital also announced that a 30-year-old from Jericho and a 79-year-old from Calapido were also tested positive. So it is not known whether any of the new cases were treated at the Covid-19 clinic, as that clinic at the moment has only enough space for 4 people to be treated. I think there's only 4 beds in the hospital that can treat the very serious COVID cases. So normally, unless they're a serious COVID case, most people will be sent home to self-isolate for 14 days. So doing the mathematics on that, I'm making the total at the moment since the beginning of the year. Zakynthos has seen 26 positive cases here on the island. And again, that has come as a bit of a surprise to everybody and a bit of a shock, considering that we're a closed island. It's trying to work out where is this infection coming from. Don't forget, we still have lorries driving onto the island, bringing supplies for the shops and stuff like that. Maybe the connection is from there. People are only supposed to be travelling for emergency health reasons, and although the word family reunification is in there, makes you wonder if people who have homes here from Athens or from Patra or whatever only really come in the summer, have been coming over here because basically it's a preferable place to be rather than in Athens or Patra. But again, we'll wait and see how these figures pan out. But let's not panic about it, all right, in the whole of things, because at the end of the day, we do want to get a season going and we do want to see people coming here on holiday. And also in the realm of things, when you look right the way across Greece, these are isolated cases. And I think it's the isolated cases that are more of a worry, or shall we say, people are hyping the fans on it, the flames on it as well. But anyway, interestingly, yesterday as well, there was a decision by the chief of the Hellenic police, which came suddenly. It came without warning, when he issued a ban on large public gatherings with no more than 100 people. And that took effect yesterday. And that will be in place for 6 days until February the 1st, 2021, at least. Anyway, Police Chief Michalis Karamalis claims the decision was at the suggestion of Health Experts Committee. However, they've actually dismissed such claims, announcing to the announcement by the police chief, the ban seeks to discourage gatherings like large parties and protest rallies that have the potential of becoming super spreader events. Anyway, violations of the ban carry a fine of €5,000 for businesses or organisations responsible for hosting or calling people together. Also €3,000 for individual organisers, and €300 for anybody that turns up and participates in any of one of these gatherings. Anyway, Karamalis said the decision to extend the ban until the start of next month at least stems from other recommendations from the government's Committee of Health Advisors issued on January the 22nd, and warning of the risks of fresh rise of infections if further restrictions are lifted. However, at least one member of the Health Experts Committee dismissed Karamalis' claim. Speaking on Greek Sky TV on Tuesday morning, the microbiology professor at the Department of Health and Public Policy at the University of West Attica and a member of the Infectious Diseases Committee, Alavadis Vatopoulos, said that there had been no such proposal by the committee. Anyway, I hear that from you now for the first time, he told the Sky journalist who asked him about the committee's suggestions. Anyway, the ban comes as a majority of business activities operate again since last week. Secondary education schools are scheduled to reopen again on the 1st of February, and a number of daily infections and of incubations has been decreasing, although we might be seeing a little bit of an increase here. So let's put it into perspective, all right? It must have been pure coincidence that the ban is imposed ahead of a planned students' protest rally who demand the reopening of universities and no special police body, because they want to now put police onto the universities, which has always been called Sanctuary here in Greece, where the police are not allowed into the universities. Anyway, at the facilities of higher education, a rally is scheduled for Thursday, January the 28th. Now, just remind you that we also have the Tatoi here, which has university status on the island. So it'll be interesting to see if any demonstrations come here as the same they were looking at in Athens. Anyway, police sources reportedly said that the ban does not affect gatherings of citizens in commercial streets and outside stores. Also, just another point that hasn't been really reported to a greater extent in the mainstream media is the fact that Italy had a day of disobedience where businesses said, sod it, we're all opening. All of them, 5,000 businesses across Rome decided to just open because, as they said, can't shut everybody down. Also in Athens as well, there's been protests where people have reopened their businesses because, again, they see their businesses going down the stream. So I'm just wondering if the Greek government might be thinking ahead that maybe there might be a little bit of unrest with people here who might decide enough is enough and we need to get back to work. But anyway, just keep that in mind that that ban is in place until the 1st of January. Now, another little article that was very interesting yesterday that I came across. Nobody's reporting this at the moment. I like to think I might be one of the first people to be reporting this. I did trawl through the Greek press trying to find anybody else who covered this story. But the ex-Greek finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, has claimed that Greece could leave the eurozone as he hit at the EU's policy and claims that I'll say that again. Ex-Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis has claimed that Greece could leave the Eurozone as he hit out at EU's policies that he claims have left his nation bankrupt. It comes as Mr Varoufakis has said that both sides lost in the Brexit deal and claimed the UK's exit from the EU had begun a chain of reactions of slow deconstruction. It comes as the Brexit trade deal comes into effect after months of wrangling over state aid, fisheries and the so-called levelling the playing fields. Anyway, the deal was given the green light by both the United Kingdom and the European Union parliaments after the Prime Minister Boris Johnson and EU chiefs such as the European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen and the German Chancellor and the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, and the French President Emmanuel Macron agreed to the terms of the deal in order to avoid a no-deal Brexit. It's his party that he has now that have said that if they got into power, they would actually campaign for Greece to leave the actual Eurozone. He also said that Greece should have never gone into the Eurozone, and he said the way that Greece was handled by the European Commission at the time was very shoddy. Banks bailing out banks, people being left to suffer. And also the interesting thing about this was, even though when he was in power and he was the former finance minister for Greece, and I do like this guy. I've got to be. I didn't like him at first, but I've warmed to him over the last few years, and he does talk a lot of common sense. But I think the time now is right because of Brexit, that Greece probably looking towards what's happening with Brexit and see if Greece could get out. I don't think, and I don't believe for 1 minute at the moment that Greece is going to be able to get out very easily from Brexit. At the moment, you're seeing a battening down the hatches by Brussels at the moment, trying to keep member states in order, who are also talking quite openly about Britain and about their feelings about whether they should stay in the club or not. And it's interesting that the Danish actually said they missed the British in the EU Parliament because they said the EU Parliament was a lot more fun to be in when the British was there, when Nigel Farage was making his speeches and saying, and also Denmark also felt that they had an ally with Britain in the EU about the way the EU was being run, because it seems that it was only the British that said about how the EU was being run and the problems of the EU and the corruption within the EU as well. And now that Brits have gone, everything is quiet. Nobody dare say anything out of line, the Danes miss it. They weren't happy about the fishing rights, I'll give them that. However, in general, the Britain is missed in the EU at the moment. Right, now another story that came out yesterday, which again, this is Greek law now, and as weird as it sounds, all right, this is, we can't compare it to the way justice is in the UK. With British justice, I'd like to remind you, the Greeks run on the French system, not on the British system of justice. But the appeals trial of the robbery against the Mayor of Zakynthos, Mr. Ariakis, that was concluded this week. It seems, for those people who are not sure about the story, but anyway, in 2016, he wasn't mayor then, he was just a normal citizen. He was robbed in the street of 500,000 euros, which he was taking to the bank for safekeeping after his house had been burgled, where he had 300,000 euros in cash stolen from there as well. Now, anyway, the Patras 3-member appeals court reduced the sentences of the two men involved to 8 years for the ex-Greek policeman and 12 years, 6 months to his Albanian accomplice. You might remember they were originally sentenced to 20 and 21 years respectively. Now, after a speech by the defence lawyers was completed, in which they said that there were mitigating circumstances for what they did and had done, they obviously made a proposal to the court to show some form of leniency. Anyway, the prosecutor rejected the proposal, the guilt of the accused, as the Albanian had been tried for robbery at the first instance. That's the court. The Albanian was seen as a perpetrator, and the former policeman was a moral perpetrator. So the Albanian was the man behind it, who was only 21, I think he was quite young actually, and the former policeman had been led astray. That's basically what they were saying. Anyway, they both asked for relief, which means leniency to a degree. However, the prosecutor suggested that they be rejected. The decision was characterised as exceptional by Mr. Theodoros Chronopoulos. He was the lawyer of civil education and the defence for Mr. Ariakis, the mayor, who in his statements to the Hermes newspaper stated, the prosecutor proposed guilty as accused, that is for the robbery, the perpetrator, the Albanian, and the moral perpetrator, the police lieutenant. So he was not just an ordinary policeman, this guy, he was actually a lieutenant, and they both asked for relief. Anyway, the prosecutor suggested that the migrating circumstances should both be rejected. Now, this is where the politics comes into play here. Now that the new sentences framework from 20 years became 15 years, the court rejected the Albanian's mitigating circumstances. However, he accepted the mitigation of the former police officer, which basically said that he'd led a good life and he'd hit hard times, and he'd been reduced to becoming a robber, basically. That's it, sort of being paraphrased. Anyway, and because the Syriza government had changed the amount of statutory time you could do in jail from 20 down to 15, it was felt that he could have had his honest life taken into consideration. All right, and basically he ended up getting 8 years, while the Albanian got 12 years, because he'd also, on the escape to get away once they grabbed the money, he'd obviously assaulted somebody and caused bodily injury to somebody while escaping with the money. So therefore, he was still given the 12 years, the higher penalty. So there you go, the end of what was a very interesting case here on the island. Again, 500,000 euros being carried in cash. Not only that, but what wasn't mentioned actually in that summing up was that not only was it 500,000 euros that was stolen from the mayor at the time in the street, but somebody else had about 3,000 euros stolen as well on the same day. So again, those two guys are still in jail. The policeman is only in jail for 8 years, whereas the Albanian is in jail for 12 years. But in some ways, you would think that the police would be would be, I don't know what the police's feelings are towards that from the rank and file officer, that one of their own can go out, commit a robbery of such an extraordinary amount of money, and then get his sentence reduced from 20 years down to 12 years because he had a good record before he turned to crime. So again, not sure if anybody's got any comments or views on that, but an interesting story none the least. Anyway, and once again, I do feel sorry at times for the mayor of this island. Being the mayor is like a poisoned chalice. Anyway, a nice bit of happy news now. And finally, Greece's former royal palace, the Tatoi, will undergo massive transformations soon. Yeah, Greece is hoping to convert the stunning estate, which has sadly been run down over the last 50 years, and turning it into a luxury hotel and spa. Anyway, the palace, which sits on the ground spanning 10,000 acres, was purchased by the Greek royal family as a summer residence back in the 1880s. And it's located on the slope of Mount Parthia, and it's about 27 kilometres from downtown Athens. So it's not too far for a night out, as well as to enjoy what they describe as the virulent woodland and abundance of wildlife that are in that area. So anyway, the thought of reviving the site into a luxury vacation spot and highlighting its royal history